Juju Smith-Schuster, though, biggest name, probably as we look at the remaining free agents, including Taylor Rapp, available, will probably headline this class. He gets a 3-year, $25.5 million deal in terms of base value. 16 of that is guaranteed. It's incentive heavy in 24 and 2025, which takes a max value to $33 million. I had many thoughts on this, but let's just start with Mike Giardi's grade, and then we'll get into the comparisons to obviously Jakobi Meyers' contract, which was also in the overall structure, 3 years and $33 million, and why the Patriots chose Juju pretty much straight up over Jakobi.
It's a B-B. I'm kind of like, he's a good player.
The Pats Interference Podcast is powered by FanDuel. Sign up now at FanDuel.com/Boston and claim your $200 bonus.
He brings an element of physicality after catch that Jakobi didn't. He's also been with two players, coaches, and Mike Tomlin and Andy Reid, who were fine eventually walking away from what was on the table or what was being presented to maintain the player. So I think that's something to sort of keep in mind. And I know in my conversations with people that the Chiefs were not even close to where the Patriots were in terms of money, and they just had the player in the building. So again, I think it's fine. He's a serviceable player. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, depending on what happens at the receiver position going forward here, if he is the primary option and ends up catching close to 100 passes if he stays healthy. There's another issue. 21 games over the last 2 years, dealt with the knee, pretty much cost him his final season with Pittsburgh. It was a real struggle for him. And then last year, near the end of the year, I want to say the final 5 or 6 weeks, they had to manage him quite a bit because of that knee. So something, again, to keep in mind. I think some Pats fans are looking at this and saying they're seeing the guy in year 2 who, with the Steelers, had whatever it was, 100 catches, 1,400 yards. And I think they remember him making an explosive play against the Patriots and think that's the guy they're getting. Based on the way he's been handled physically the last 2 years, I don't think that's the player you're getting. But again, you're still getting a good player. And in some ways, yes, it's a physical upgrade from Jakobi. I would say on that front, the devil you know versus the devil you don't. And you know the player knows the system. He's got a good relationship with the quarterback. The quarterback leaned on him quite a bit. What message are you sending to the quarterback again? Because now he's on his third offensive coordinator in 3 years, which is, by the way, the handbook to ruin any young quarterback. And now you're constantly swapping out pieces that he likes. So I think you just kind of have to put it all into the big picture. It's not just about the player, but how the player fits, who the player's replacing, and what does it say overall. And that's why I kind of put it, if I give it a number grade, it's like an 83. We're kind of like hovering right around there.
Yeah, BB minus. Okay. I don't care so much about the max stuff. I just don't think he's been good enough to kind of command or have much of an input in the way that, the top 5 quarterbacks might, or the contract quarterbacks who are going to be for 8-10 years like NBA superstars do when they're involved in roster building. It's nice that a couple of years ago, Patrick Mahomes wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the end of the first round, and the Chiefs took him. I don't know how well that pick has worked out. The other point is the Patriots just need more receiving talent. Like, again, this is a bottom 5 skill position group in the window between Jakobi Meyers leaving, Juju Smith-Schuster getting here. I don't think they're any higher or outside of, the bottom 10, maybe bottom 8 right now. And I have good things coming about Juju Smith-Schuster, who off the top, as you mentioned, has already proven to have a higher ceiling than Jakobi Meyers. Okay, this is change. And what I'm on the record saying multiple times on TV, on this podcast, and in writing is that the Patriots need some sort of shakeup. Okay, you cannot run it back and say, we're better than you think we are. Let us prove it to you. Because doing that has been 25 and 26 record the last 3 years. Juju has changed. Okay, he's had a 1,400-yard season, 111 catches, 7 touchdowns with Pittsburgh. The problem is that was 2018, as you mentioned. His year last year in Kansas City, close to 1,000 yards, their second leading receiver in every category, basically behind Travis Kelce, was his best season since then. So the Patriots are buying high. They're buying high in an asset that was just in an environment incredibly conducive to that type of production. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. And we've done this before. The Nelson Aguilar comparison was one that I drew in an article on the Herald, and that Aguilar was coming off of an environment in Vegas where John Gruden's an offensive head coach. Derek Ball is one of the best deep ball throwers we have in the league. Say what you will about him becoming a pea puddle under pressure. But they unleashed Aguilar as just, he ran more go routes, I think, than almost anyone in the league that year in 2020 and cashed in big time. When he comes to this offense, a different offense, his stock crashed because that's what happens when you buy a high. Now, Juju's fit in New England is a much smoother projection, right? Like he's a big slot. He's going to do what Jakobi did. You look at their numbers over the middle of the field where primarily he's going to work, and they were basically identical. Okay, so it was 9.6 yards per catch for Jakobi Meyers, 9.7 for Juju. Their catch rates were between 73 and 77% on passes over the middle of the field. Great. The issue is, again, in an on-field sense, while Juju offers you maybe a little bit higher ceiling in terms of yards after the catch, which all of my colleagues have written about, and I did too, he does that against zone coverage. And the Patriots' biggest problem on offense, even dating back to Tom Brady's last 2 years, has been facing and beating man-to-man. And objectively, Juju is a worse player against man coverage than Jakobi Meyers was. Again, if he gets loose, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's probably a little bit faster. That dynamicism has been missing from this offense. He brings an element that maybe only Kendrick Bourne can after the catch, creating offense. It's just that you were doing okay versus zone. Your issues were against bump and run, and that's not an issue that you solve with Juju Smith-Schuster, who also has had his most successful seasons, 2018, even 2017 as a rookie, and now 2022, working opposite a four-time All-Pro. That was Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh. That was Travis Kelce in Kansas City. What does he do now? Again, this could change as the number one target when you're facing Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, Tre'Davious White and Sauce Gardner, all in the division, each twice a year. I don't know. Maybe he'll be fine. Maybe he'll have his best season yet. I just look at his numbers and his production and the timing of this investment, which financially is fine. It's I think, a better deal than the one that Jakobi Meyers got in Vegas. Okay, all the guarantees in the first 2 years, a lot of incentives, good for them. I just think they needed more. This is a little bit of change. I give this a B- because, again, I think at some point you just have to bet on the upside. But besides from just, okay, he's going to fit, but can we count on getting the best version of Juju Smith-Schuster right now with the timing of this deal, knowing that he's locked in for a couple of years and is going to be your number one option in a new environment that is going to be a little less friendly than Andy Reid's hamburgers and Patrick Mahomes throwing off his back foot was going to be? I have my doubts. But as far as the financial risk and the quality of the player, I think a small upgrade over Jakobi, possibly, but you also have a lower floor. And that might be the more likely set of outcomes that we get than if you would just run it back with Jakobi. And here's the last thing I'll say, because I've been talking too long. You could have brought both of them back. Not a problem. In terms of cash spent, cap space, push it forward. Jakobi's market, way underwhelmed projections. Some that you had, some at ESPN, just estimations on my own behalf. I owed 50 push-ups to an agent, which we had some a bet on what he would get, fell well short. That happened. They knocked out. I just look at this and I wonder why not both. And it might have been injury related. People mentioned Jakobi's knee to me, the small tear he had last year. Maybe that was it. Maybe it wasn't. But you need more receiving talent that hasn't changed. This is an okay start. If I came home with a B- back in the day, my parents would say, okay.
Yeah. Myers played 31 games in the last 2 years. Juju, I think 21. Is that I think my math is correct?
You said 21 like 10 minutes ago, so you can't go back on it now, even if it's wrong. But yes, we'll look this up. We'll have research.
Yes, I feel pretty good about that. So, people can say his knee was a problem, but he was on the field versus the other guy whose knee was a problem and wasn't on the field. I just, again, it's even if he has a higher ceiling, it's still to me a 1-for-1 trade.
Yes.
The percentage points that you improved at that position, if you get the max from the player, is what? 5%, 7%? Like, you know what I mean? It's a small push of the needle. There needs to be more done there if they're going to be someone that can compete with the other teams. As I mentioned on TV yesterday, it's Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs. It's Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson. It's Tua to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. And it's Mac to right now his best receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster.
All right.
That's an L. That's an L.